The wonders of modern science and human skill are here displayed at their very best. Aviation has made great strides, and this unbelievable formation clearly portrays its phenomenal progress. In perfect alignment, these sky monarchs gracefully glide thousands of feet above the deep man-made canyons of Manhattan. To spectators thousands of feet below,
and I'm with UPS, and Ricky's is a retired Boeing engineer. We've both been in aviation since we were pups.
Can you tell me more about the two airplanes behind you?
These two airplanes here, which is a picture of it's right down here, is a Boeing P-26A. We're building the A version models. They were first flew in 1932, and production stopped in early 35, late 34, early 35. And they flew in the United States Air Force, well, the Army Air Corps, the Chinese Air Force, the Spanish Air Force, the Philippine Air Force, and the Panamanian Air Force, and the last usage all the way up to 1957 with the Guatemalan Air Force. So it had a long span from 32 all the way to 57, which was pretty unique for an old, obsolete, open cockpit fighter.
How long have you been working on these two planes?
Well, that's a little embarrassing in a way. I've been working on them. I started first cutting metal in 1992, and I was building the firewalls. It took me 7 of them before I got 2 good ones.
So tell me a bit more about how you manufacture the pieces for these. It's not just like you can order parts for these airplanes anymore.
No, you can't. Matter of fact, a lot of the parts are handmade, and that's one of the problems with making things. It's like right here, you can't order these clamps. These aluminum clamps. It's made from a flat sheet, and they go around the tube, and it holds in the, goes on this tube that comes down in here and holds the skin. It's for securing the skin. These right here, the outside skin hook, it will clamp to. But these right here, you can't buy it, so you have to make it. The reason this airplane's taken so long is because, 1, I'm making everything to an airworthy standard, and 2, because you have to make all this unique stuff. I mean, this airplane, I could have built 2 P-40 Warhawks for as much effort as I put into one of these.
Yeah.
And but this is all scratch made. It's all built from blueprint, factory prints. But the metals have changed.
Tell us a little bit more about this project right here and what this is.
This is an ME-163. It's a Messerschmitt. It's a rocket plane, and it's from 1940s, World War II. It was called the Comet with a K. It was a fighter at the time. It would launch with detachable wheels. It was on a, this is upside down. We'll get a picture of it so you can see the span perspective. Okay, and this is what it looks like this way. Now, we're building one just like this. And this airplane right now is upside down. So when you look at it, you're going to see this here. That's where the tail wheel goes, and you can see where the clamp is for the tail wheel. And then up in here is where the skid goes. And so this is upside down. But this is what it will be when it's done. It's about 22 foot long. And it's called an ME-163. I'd probably say 165 or 163. And it's called a Comet, Messerschmitt Comet. We're tailless. But this airplane here was way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
So the technology we learned from that helped us build what we have today. Now the rocket engine and the fuels they used were extremely caustic and extremely dangerous, and killed quite a few Germans, and it was very difficult to maintain. And we stayed away from that aspect. But we learned a lot from their little rocket motor, and the systems they came up with. It was part of their rocket development in Germany, which has ultimately helped us with our Saturn V, going to the moon.
Did you watch the moon landing, or were you?
Oh, yeah, as a kid.
What do you remember about watching us land on the moon?
Well, I was watching on TV, my whole family there. Now I'm an Air Force dependent at the time, so.
I
My
think
dad,
the word was brat.
Brat, yes. My dad was an Air Force pilot, and so anything Air Force was very interesting to us. But I was fascinated by, like the rest of the country, I was fascinated by the Apollo situation going on, the
Yeah.
Mercury and everything else. But I remember watching on TV. I was there when he jumped off the ladder, you know, and then did his saying about all mankind and planted the flag. Oh yeah, that was big news. And watched, I remember watching when the thing departed off the moon. Drafting skills help everybody, especially when you get, when you want to do projects. Whether you're doing it, when I designed the building, I drafted it out and gave it to have people to have it built. When I did the airplane, I drafted it out, we cut the bulkheads out, and then we made it to that. So learning your math, tying that into how everything is first, second, and third dimension is very important. And learning drafting in today's world, CAD, which is electronic drafting. I don't do CAD, I still do it the old way, the manual drafting. But like I want this landing gear fitting, or this landing gear tail wheel made. I can't just say make it. I had to draft up a blueprint for it.
Yeah.
And I've got that in the house. But I've got tail wheels over here. But my point is, this is all, we made it, all these bulkheads, laid it out on a table, a 20-foot table, and then filled it in with foam. After the bulkheads were there and all the stringers and everything were in place, then we filled in between the stringers with foam, centered it all down.
So the frame or the structural components are actually built right into the skin.
No, that's okay. This is called a hat section. Yes, this is a stress skin type of design, which means this gives the skin shape, but the load is all carried through the skin. And you were asking about the rivets. All these rivets have to be bucked, but the rivets, if you want to see what one looks like, the other type of rivets you have when you work on airplanes is called a round head rivet or universal rivet.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get you one here, if I can get one. And it has like a little mushroom top. And that's called a universal rivet. So all these clecos you see on top up here, they're going to be hidden, those rivets, so I'll be using round head rivets there.
So those are the same instruments that pilots in the past used?
Those are the same instruments that they used in the past. Yes, those are from that era. They've not been overhauled yet. Those are all original instruments.
So this is exactly what a P-26 pilot would have saw?
Yes.
Wow.
Same layout, same everything.
Were the guns mounted in the wings?
No, on either side of the ankles.
Okay.
The pilot's ankles with the rudder pedals,
Yeah.
the guns, and they come out
So was there a,
right here, and then it comes out and it shoots in between the prop.
okay, so it had to be specially geared?
Yes,
Okay.
just like the World War I airplanes. And it flew, it originally came out with two 35 or 30 caliber machine guns, and then later was modified to 130 and 150. And
What was your memory of the moon landing? It was 50 years ago this year.
Well, I'd like to say it was a gee whiz moment, but it wasn't because I fell asleep, so did my father, and Mom didn't wake us up to watch it.
oh, I watched it.
So, which, looking back, I'm kind of bummed out about because I was totally into space exploration at the time. And I knew all the Apollo, Gemini, and Mercury astronauts, their names. I knew what each spacecraft looked like. I had books.
So do you think we should go back to space, to the moon, and maybe to Mars?
Oh, absolutely. Without getting too philosophical, if we don't explore and build a permanent presence in space, then when something catastrophic happens, say a big rock or a neutron beam from a neutron star hits us, we won't be anymore. So if humanity hopes to survive, we have to have a permanent presence in space. Was that suitably NASA-ish?
Oh yeah, very NASA-ish.